أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أفلا ينظرون إلى الإبل كيف خلقت وإلى السماء كيف رفعت وإلى الجبال كيف نصبت وإلى الأرض كيف سطحت فذكر إنما أنت مذكر. I recited verses 17 to 21 of the 88th chapter of the Holy Quran, Al-Ghashiyah, the overwhelming event. It has been translated in two different ways as far as the word Iblis mentioned in the Arabic text. One as clouds and the second as camels. I'll briefly mention about the clouds, but I'll dwell on the subject as covered by Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, Masih Maud, Mehdi Maud, Mujaddid Islam, that he has used the word camels in his interpretations. So I'll expand on that matter with reference to his interpretation. See they not that the camels, how they are created, and the heavens, how it is raised high, and the mountains, how they are fixed, and the earth, how it is spread out. So remind, you are only one to remind. These verses are from a chapter which is Mecca chapter according to the Revelation, and therefore it's a very early message. If we briefly discussed Maulana Muhammad Ali's interpretations, where he has preferred to use the word clouds. He has referred to, because there's a mention of the clouds and the heavens and the mountains and the earth, he has interpreted this as the water cycle. Others who have interpreted it, they've talked about the cloud referring to the message of Islam, which will be carried far over distant lands. And therefore, it will bear rain, which is the mercy of Allah upon the various people who accept this message. It will rise above the mountains which try to obstruct it, and it will make the land fertile for the future spread of the message of Allah. So this is how far I will go with the interpretation of the clouds. Now we go towards the word camels being used, where we could say that see they not the camels, how they are created. It's a big message. And it's not, basically Quran is not a book that makes you reflect on the physical being of a camel or a dog or a bird or an ant or because God gives various comparisons to the animals. Inna Allah la yastakhshi an yadriba masalan ma ba'udatan fama fawqaha. He doesn't shy away from giving examples of any animal, however small it be or however big it be. So here we are talking about a camel, which practically is a very tall, heavy animal, and still so subservient to the human beings for which it has been created. So the spirit of the message is not in the Quran, what a wonderful evolutionary miracle the camel is, how adaptive it is. Because if you look up the various websites that want to find about the camels, and you'd go through the various tafasir-e-Quran, you will not find much of the spiritual message in it. The spiritual message comes from the reformer, mainly when he talks about the camels. And so it's not going to be the physical aspects, but the spiritual message when we start looking at the camel. See they not the camel. It's again not a mere looking at a camel and say, how wonderful, what a burden it is carrying, how crooked it is in structure. In Urdu it is said, "Oont re oont teri kaun si kal seedhi." Addressing the camel, it is said, which part of your body is not straight, everything is crooked in you. So this very crooked looking animal is become the subject of my sermon today. Here he says, when God says, see they not the camels, he's not giving a choice, he's not asking a question, but he is ordering. He's ordering to look at the camel. Find out what you can learn from this animal that I've created, which you can adopt or adapt in your lives and improve yourselves. That's what the Quran is all about. A message from Allah, which is a guidance for us, Mudallil Muttaqeen, those who want to try to go onto the right path, the path that pleases Allah. And what can we learn from various animals? For example, Maulana Rumi and other spiritual people that I've had a chance to read, they've at least found, even in a dog which we shun so much, about more than a dozen qualities which, if the human started following, which the dog has, they would be great human beings, they would be near a God. For example, the sincerity of a dog. He is satisfied whether you kick him or give him a piece of bread or even don't feed him for a couple of days. Once he realizes you are the master, then he is there subservient to you under every condition that he may be tried with. So when we talk about the camel, Arabic, the usual word used is jamal, jim mim lam, which is beautiful. Jamal, Jamil, we come across these names in Arabic. And there are 1,000 names given to the camel for the qualities they have. Whether they are born 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 offsprings, whether they are used for riding or for carrying, so they've got 1,000 words for it. But God has not chosen the word Jamal here because it's a singular. He has chosen the word Ibli. Ibli means always in the plural form. This is one of those rare Arabic words which comes whether as you can refer to a line of male camels, female camels, both the genders included in those line of camels, they will still be referred to the Ibl. So God has selected this word for a very good reason, And the camel is a wonderful animal because it lives for 40 years, which perhaps was the same age as human beings would live when Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was around. That was the average age. And we know about its humps, the false belief that the hump carries the water it drinks, which only carries fat and 40 to 50 kilograms of fat in a hump. It makes it possible for the camel to take a long journey, and the journey on the camel is referred to in the Quran in connection with the pilgrimage. Now we take our jumbo jets into Arabia, and we go by the ships, super speed ships and other means. But then it was the only travel mean known to the Arabs, and that's why God has selected to give example of an animal they well know. And in the Al-Hajj, the pilgrimage, God in the verse 7, which is the 22nd chapter pilgrimage, Al-Hajj, in the 7th part of the 7th verses, Yatuka rijalan wa la kulli zamirin yatina min kulli fajin amik, that they will come to thee on foot and on every lean camel coming from every remote path. By no means the camel is a lean animal. It refers to the fact that it can endure the big journey and can go off without food for 8 days. And for about 30-40 days, and water for about 8 days. So you can imagine the distance God is talking about through saying that they will come on these lean camels. They weren't lean to start with. They became lean because of the big journey they took over the desert, for which they were made in such a way by God that it could endure the temperatures from 50 plus Fahrenheit to minus 50, the night and the day travel. They got the big necks so they can face the desert storms and still stay above the sand that's going behind them. And their specially adapted feet with the two claw-like things so they don't sink into it, and their double knee that they're provided so they can sit down and get up straight like that, like a what is called the Harriet jet. The camel can be loaded to the extent it can, except the last straw that breaks its back, and still sit down and still get up for you. Such is the animal. And it drinks gallons of water and stores it up wherever it's got 3-part stomach or somewhere. It stores it and then he uses it, swallows things quickly and then regurgitates them and chews them later. He can eat the thorns without getting hurt. So I will talk no more of the wonders of the camel. Otherwise this will be a lecture from the medical books or somewhere. Let's talk about this, why God has selected the ibele, the kaf khuliqat. Why, as you said, ibele, why? Look at the camels and their lines of camels, which that's what it refers to. It is so because the camel accepts a leadership. You've never seen even a small little camel defy what is being done by the senior camel, which is experienced and leading this big line of camels that follow. There's no competition that let me rush in a bit. You leave that to the horses and they will try to get ahead of the one that is ahead, and dogs will pick up fights, but camels never pick up a fight. They go in a straight line in unity following the leadership. So that's what the message is coming through when the Quran says, have you not seen? Seen means have you not considered how things are? It's just not the physical seeing. Have you not seen the lesson that comes from you when you observe these lines and lines of camels, sometimes 100? There's one senior camel that's there and the others are following without any defiance on their part. And they follow that order and they lead unlike other animals. Now, they've got the endurance. They can go on the desert, heat, cold, without food, without water for such a long time. So we're getting the message, let's follow some leadership. Let's have the unity amongst ourselves. Let's have the endurance, because we are people who will be tried. We won't have the sun, heat and the cold of the winter, but we'll have the trials that people face all around the world. It's causing a lot of concern and alarm many a times. But then we have to learn how to be patient. Patient is sabr. And sabr means staying still. Even in Arabic, the cloud that stays still, because there's not a lot of wind, it's been there for quite a while. You say, well, it was there 1 hour back and still there. Even that's called sabr. And a camel that is sitting on the floor and not moving much, that's called a sabr. A big rock sitting there doing its own thing for the last few centuries, that's called a sabr. And we have to keep that in mind, that this sabr means when you are tried, don't run away, stay still, stay, endure. You've been asking 5 times a day the Nasiratul Mustaqim. Now the time has come for you to be tried. You've been asking that I want to be on the straight path, the path that was followed by the people who achieved things morally, the Nabiyeen and the Siddiqeen and the Shohada and the Salihin. All these people were not having an easy life, they were tried. Prophet Muhammad was loved and liked, and his wisdom was appreciated, even on the story of the laying of the Kaaba stone. And he was okay till he gets his prophethood, and then the stones come at him. Then the thorns start being laid in his passage. Then during his prostration, some lady thinks, oh, let's put some rubbish on it and make fun of him. These things happen. Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Sahib, the Mujaddid, I had stressed Mujaddid, that was his big qualification. Others, Masih Maud, Mehdi Maud, they were his titles. He had come as a Mujaddid, and he had come to give one big message, that I am one of those Mujaddids who have passed before me, and there are going to be no prophet after Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, because if there were prophets coming, then there should have been no Mujaddids coming. Everybody had predicted, like I explained to the children in Pakistan in the Tarbiyati course, that there was a letter A. You know your alphabets, young cycles? There was this A for Adam, and we're not going to go through the Z, but A was followed by lots of people, but B and C and D and E and F and all the alphabets that the children know, they were followed by that, but each of the alphabets kept saying, there will be a Z coming, and that will finish the alphabets. So why came? Jesus came and he said, after me, Prophet Ahmad will come. So why said Z is coming? All the previous said prophets are coming. But Isa alayhi salam said, a prophet is coming. He never said prophets are coming after me and one of them is going to be Ahmad. So that finishes the argument. After Z, there can't be another alphabet, even if you want to invent one. Let's invent the 27th one. Let's call it ZA or ZB or ZC. Why had said Z is the one that's coming and he is the one. So we talk about that. I can't imagine a sermon in which I don't say prophethood has finished. It says the message that every Lawri Ahmadi must carry forward. Because a lot of people don't even know that we believe in the finality of the prophethood. In fact, we are the only people who are believing in the finality of prophethood. The rest of the world is waiting for a prophet that will come. There's a vast group of the people that believe in Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, but they believe another prophet has come and he's Ghulam Ahmad, who says, I'm a Ghulam Ahmad. How can a Ghulam Ahmad become an Ahmad? And then there are just one who say, no old prophet, no new prophet. So we are the one who are persecuted for defying Khatm-e-Nubuwwat. So we think of our camel, we think of the difficulties that will come our way, and we say that let's also learn how to carry the weight that has been placed on our shoulders to carry forward, and remember that the last words in this verse are Fazakir innama anta muzakkir. That's addressed to the Prophet. But we are carrying on what the Prophet has asked us. Carry this message on. In his last sermon he said, this is the message I've got you, have you heard it? Yes, it's your duty now to pass it on. It's come to us and we have the duty of passing it on. Be enduring, patient, able to carry the burden, and this is what I think is what we have been asked to look at the camel. Let's look at it closely and think how much of its qualities are we capable of adopting. So may Allah help us, give us the patience, and help us do all that's good, and give this message of Islam, which is a peaceful message, to the rest of the world.